Hey guys, you probably won't survive this one without muttering "no way" under your breath at least twice. So consider yourself warned, and before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Oh, and tell me where you're watching from right now, and what time it is there in. Genuinely curious who's hearing this while sipping morning coffee and who's curled up at 2 a.m. wondering how people get themselves into these messes. Emily's day should have been the kind you remember forever for all the right reasons. The day you carry your tiny, warm, impossibly fragile newborn into the home you've prepared for months. Instead, she sits in that too-bright hospital room, the hum of fluorescent lights mixing with the tick-tick-tick of the clock that seems to mock her, because Daniel, the man who swore up and down he'd be their first thing, is nowhere to be found. Her phone, which had been a lifeline through labor, now feels like dead weight. 20 checks later, still no message, no missed call, just silence. And for the record, historians still argue whether staring at a phone harder actually makes it ring. Emily's pretty sure it doesn't. She feeds the baby, folds the impossibly small clothes, answers a concerned call from her sister with the kind of fake cheer even sitcom actors would envy. Every voice in the hallway makes her glance up, but it's never Daniel. The nurse, Rachel, badge tilted like it's been through a war, finally sits on the bed and gently asks if there's anyone else to call. There isn't, not really, because this was supposed to be their first day as a family. But the hours keep passing, and Rachel's too kind to say it outright, but the bed has to be cleared. A cab is called, and walking out into that sharp midday sun feels like stepping onto a stage where everyone else knows their lines except her. The cab driver, an older man with eyes like he's seen it all, asks about the dad in the same tone people use to ask if you want fries. With that, she mumbles something about being caught up. Little does she know, caught up might win the Understatement of the Year award. Back at the apartment building, she lugs the baby carrier up the stairs, her body still aching, her mind clinging to the absurd hope that Daniel will be inside, ready with an apology. Instead, she's greeted by stillness, the kind that fills every corner. She sits on the couch, cradles her son, and lets the tears slip out quietly. Outside, life bustles on. Inside, she's already starting to suspect her own is about to change in ways she can't yet see. She doesn't notice it at first. Her brain is still fogged from exhaustion and the emotional whiplash, but there by the door, black, glossy heels with a red sole, the kind of shoes Emily wouldn't dare wear unless she wanted to snap an ankle at the first crack in the sidewalk. They're not hers, and they definitely don't belong to Daniel's mother. She's still staring when a key turns in the lock and, laughter low, intimate drifts from the hallway outside. The door swings open, and in walks Daniel, grocery bag in one hand, phone pressed to his ear, his grin the kind people save for someone they're trying to impress. He freezes when he sees her. She asks where he's been. He mumbles something about leaving his phone at work and having things to take care of. She points at the shoes. He says they're Vanessa's, just helping him with a work project. And then, as if summoned by cue, Vanessa herself appears from the kitchen, holding a glass of water like she owns the place. "Congratulations, Emily," she says, her voice sweet with that faint metallic edge women sometimes use when they're claiming territory. Historians still argue whether that tone was invented before or after Cleopatra's time, but either way, it's ancient and sharp. Emily takes the baby to his room, more to breathe than to protect him from the scene unfolding. When she comes back, the air between Daniel and Vanessa is brittle, like a glass ready to shatter. Emily demands to know why today, of all days. Daniel mutters about work pressure. Vanessa smirks about late nights. The conversation circles like vultures over roadkill until Vanessa finally leaves, perfume lingering like an accusation. By morning, Emily catches Daniel whispering in his phone, "She's suspicious. I can tell you shouldn't have stayed so long." And he jumps when she walks in. After he leaves, she searches the apartment, driven by a pulse of dread that feels almost scientific in its certainty. She finds a jewelry store receipt dated yesterday, not for her, and then, after a few password guesses, his email inbox spills open like a trapdoor. Messages for Vanessa. He doesn't suspect a thing. Just a few more weeks until the inheritance clears. Daniel's reply: "I'm tired of pretending with Emily. I wish it was over." Her heart isn't just broken, no, it's recruited anger, humiliation, and a sick sort of clarity to its side. This wasn't an affair born of passion. It was strategy. She's not just a neglected wife's a prop in a financial scheme, and the most important day of her life was just a line item on someone else's checklist. The proof feels cold in her hand, screenshots of emails, the receipt tucked like a shard of glass in her pocket. She calls Claire, voice low and tight, and by the end of the conversation, her sister's telling her, you can't sit on this. Call his family. It's not an easy decision, but by nightfall, Emily has Daniel's parents sitting in her living room, their eyes scanning the evidence. His mother's tears are quiet but furious. His father's jaw is a warning in itself. When Daniel finally walks in, the room is so still you can almost hear his heart drop. Emily lays it all out. Vanessa, the inheritance, the pretending. Daniel tries to spin it, but Vanessa chooses that exact moment to call, her name flashing on the screen like the closing credits of a bad movie. His father doesn't raise his voice, but the words land like a verdict. You've disgraced yourself and this family. Emily tells them she's leaving, and for once, nobody argues. Packing with Claire is quick. Emily takes only what she needs, nothing tainted by broken promises. There's a strange lightness in leaving with just a few bags and a sleeping baby. Out in the hallway, the air feels cleaner, as if even the building is glad to see her go. Daniel's voice calls after her once, but his father's cuts through it. Let her go, son. This is your doing. And that's the last time she looks back. Weeks later, the pieces have started to rearrange themselves. Emily's living at Claire's, finding her rhythm walks with the stroller, meals that don't feel like a silent negotiation, nights where the only cries are from her son, not from her heart. Daniel's messages keep coming, apologies, explanations, but she's done grading empty homework. The inheritance gets tied up in legal knots. Vanessa disappears from his orbit, and Daniel is left alone with the echo of his choices. Emily, meanwhile, starts to feel herself again. One evening, Claire sits beside her on the couch, both watching the baby sleep, and says, "You did it, Em. You survived." Emily smiles, not because the hurt is gone, but because survival is no longer the goal. Living is. She knows life ahead will have its stumbles, its bad days, maybe even its lonely nights, but there's a clarity now, a solid ground under her feet. And as she whispers to her son, "It's just you and me, little one, we're going to be okay," the words don't feel like hope anymore. They feel like truth. The night outside is quiet, the kind that settles over a city like a blanket, and somewhere in the distance a train humps, a reminder that moving on is not just possible, it's already happening. The air in Claire's apartment is warm, not from heat, but from safety, and Emily lets herself lean back into the couch cushions, feeling the gentle rise and fall of her son's breaths against her chest. Outside, streetlights cast soft pools of gold on the pavement, and a few late walkers pass by, their steps slow, unhurried. It's the kind of scene you could almost miss if you were still tangled in the noise of the past. She thinks of the hospital room, the ticking clock, the shoes by the door, the voice on the phone, and lets them drift away, each one fading like ripples smoothing out on water. In their place is something quieter, steadier. She's no longer waiting for an apology to make things right, or for someone else to decide her worth. The choices ahead are hers, and that alone is enough to steady her heartbeat. In the nursery, the baby shifts in his sleep, a small sigh escaping, and Emily smiles. She knows tomorrow might bring challenge, teething, bills, maybe even memories she'd rather not revisit, but tonight, she's here, and that's enough. Her sister hums in the kitchen, the sound mingling with the faint buzz of the fridge, and it feels like the softest kind of music. Emily closes her eyes, not to shut out the world, but to rest in it, to let the stillness hold her for a while. She doesn't need to know exactly where the road leads. She only needs to know she's on it, moving forward with every quiet breath. Somewhere far off, the train hum returns, fading into the night. And with that sound in her ears, she drifts into the kind of sleep that comes when you've finally set something heavy down.